Hey y'all, Adam the Exacto Guru here. You may have noticed I'll be using yet another logo moving forward from this video. I've received my first fan art. A big thank you to Sharkbait Breed for this. Now, I've had a few people asking me to describe my specific belief structure. It's come up in a few discussions on Discord, and one of my subscribers asked about it in the comments on my last video. So today I'm going to do the best job I can to answer this request, and I hope you'll bear with me. My beliefs have always allowed me to be open to the concepts of certain things, such as ghosts, the Fae, and other planes. Recently I've added to that the deities from the Celtic pantheon, have found acceptance for the concept of all deities existing. This does not mean I condone the same things that the deities of other religions and practices believe to be morally correct, but I can accept that their deities exist. It is my further belief that a deity can be written into existence from the void, if one sits down to write with the intention to do so, or those who read the works begin to speak about them as they are real. I feel that H.P. Lovecraft has achieved this with the Cthulhu mythos. Before I get too carried away with the gods, I will elaborate my beliefs in ghosts and such. In terms of apparitions, I have heard enough independent corroborative stories about many given locations to believe that some places are indeed haunted. I've seen photos that predate photo manipulation software, which would be virtually impossible to create by accident by then professionals, much less the amateur photographer. The core of my thinking on how a ghost could be a real entity is this. We have measured data that shows a human, upon death, loses mass not accounted for by understood biology. While I wouldn't call this a soul, I do think it is the electrochemical reaction that is you leaving your body. I feel that there is an albeit small likelihood that these charged electrons then get caught in the vicinity of death for various reasons. In regard to the Fae, I grew up hearing stories from my grandfather, passed down from his father and his father before him. The story is told of these small, mostly unseen beings who would take great pleasure from playing tricks on humans. They do things like moving your tools or other objects you desire greatly when you are searching for them, making them harder to find. They will also spin lies in the ear of the listener to cause quarrels between friends. These stories are repeated in most other pre-Christian cultures, all attributed to small beings that largely go unnoticed. I prefer to think of the Fae as a working description for the feeling one gets in their being when we feel an item isn't where we left it, or that feeling of being manipulated against your peers. I do not view them as a physical entity, but more an external force upon us that we have no better way to explain. In terms of the existence of other planes, I believe they do exist. I think that they are what is being referred to when the realms are discussed. If you've ever experienced deep dreaming, where your dreams feel real, that is what I consider the bridge to the astral plane. I think for most of us, it is hard to reach and harder to cross. I have never crossed the bridge myself, and have no real desire to fully do so. I have seen those who have, and spent too much time in the other planes, and their grasp on this realm has become very tenuous. As stated previously, my belief of deity is that they are disembodied consciousness, without form, existing beyond the bounds of time and space, yet possessing the ability to interact with our consciousnesses. I feel that my interactions with my deities are their consciousness receiving my offerings and praxis and coming to interject their influence upon my thoughts. I take this stance as we have no current scientific understanding of how our thoughts came to us. Current scientific explanations hold that our brains are constantly analyzing the information around us and reacting to this. On top of that, they also assert that our brains and bodies are poor sensory analysis machines. What I mean is that our senses only present an approximation of the world as best they can. As such, we're not always aware of the external things interacting with us. I feel that for most people, this is the case. I also feel a very strong connection to nature, and have since childhood. I feel that all aspects of nature have a form of consciousness, and are thus able to experience what we would call emotions and sensations like pain. We have found that it is the case with certain fragrant plants that they release their scents for various reasons, such as attracting pollinators, being damaged, or to ward off enemies. However, for me, that experience extends much deeper. For example, I look at a tree and feel a kindred connection to the earth from it. I have come to learn that this belief is called animism, and is inherent to many pagan traditions. A belief which was only strengthened in me when learning about DNA and the genetic connection we have to all of nature. As for my belief in the afterlife, I personally feel that whatever you hold true in your heart at the time of your death is the afterlife you will likely experience. I feel that this is guided by both deity and our own subconscious judgments of ourselves, where applicable. For example, a Christian will either go to heaven, hell, or purgatory, based on the consensus between Yahweh, Satan, and themselves. I do feel that deity has the strongest say over this, as humans are rarely our own best judge of character. In my belief, I feel that my consciousness will join my ancestors in Tech Duin, which is the Gaelic afterlife. Tech Duin is presided over by the god of death, Dawn, an ancestor to the Gaels. The name Tech Duin translates to the house of Dawn. Dawn's dying wish was that all his descendants would gather at Tech Duin, saying, "To me, to my house, you shall all come after your deaths." This view has held over centuries, with many poems referencing the House of Dawn as a place of death in Irish traditions. I want to cover this topic further in October, as I feel that discussion of the ancestors is more appropriate at that time. As you can probably tell, praxis for me also involves an element of ancestor veneration. I tend to work to act in accordance with what they would have done. I strive to be someone that my ancestral clan may have put forth to lead. In that effort, I am constantly learning, adapting to new information as I accept it. I take great comfort when I invite the spirits of my ancestors into my home, along with my deity, during my evening devotionals, and I have felt marked improvement in my personal growth since adopting this practice. I realize that this is an entirely personal experience, different for everyone, and I accept that you may not be able to understand it. That's fine with me. Well, that's a brief rundown of my beliefs. I hope you found it helpful in understanding how I approach this new path in my journey. I am and always will remain open to accepting new ideas that are supported by logically sound argumentation and empirical evidence. However, I also understand that some things, which are important questions in life, fall out of the capacity of scientific understanding. As such, we have to rely on what we can best understand from it. I don't feel that my understanding of these concepts is superior to anyone else's. They are just the things I've been able to make acceptance for, based on my experience and knowledge. Thank you for checking this out. If you stuck with me this far, please don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring that notification bell. I look forward to sharing my continuing journey with you all. For now, I'm the Exacto Guru reminding you to be excellent to each other.